Hello everybody, welcome to another video. I am your host, Kaw-Liga Jedi, and today I'm going to review the first two episodes of The Mandalorian. Now, some of you are probably wondering, what's up with the name change? Well, I've decided to rebrand the channel. I'm hoping to do some more Star Wars content in the near future, and I wanted to stand out a little bit. Before we get into that, I kind of want to talk about The Mandalorian. So, overall, I thought The Mandalorian was pretty awesome. It seems like it's going to be a really cool show, and I'm looking forward to the future. Before I get into the nitty-gritty story details, I'm going to be talking about some of the larger aspects of the show. So the first few minutes is just going to be spoiler-free, and later on I'll tell you what's going on. I'll put like a little spoiler warning, so that way you guys know what's going on. So for those of you who do not know, The Mandalorian is the first live-action Star Wars television show, and it's streaming exclusively on Disney+. It's about a lone gunslinger and a bounty hunter who's trying to survive in the galaxy after the fall of the Galactic Empire. It's set about 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which is my favorite Star Wars movie, and it features brand new characters and locations. So first off, we're following the character of the Mandalorian in the show. He's played by Pedro Pascal. If you guys watched Game of Thrones, you know who he is. He's a pretty cool actor. He wears a helmet, and he's a pretty mysterious figure, much like Clint Eastwood in the spaghetti westerns of the 1970s. He has no name, and he's simply known as the Mandalorian. Now, there are also some other minor characters we've seen a little bit so far in the show. We have Greef Karga. He's a leader of the Bounty Hunting Guild, played by Carl Weathers from Rocky, if you guys know who that is. We have Nick Nolte playing an Ugnaught. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name right now because I'm pretty sick, and my voice already sounds like crap. But he seems pretty cool so far. Then we also have Werner Herzog playing what seems to be a former Imperial simply known as the Client. And then we have Taika Waititi. He's playing IG-11. He's a similar assassin droid to IG-88 from The Empire Strikes Back. These are just some of the main ones we've seen in the first two episodes. Hopefully we see some more characters, and hopefully we meet them in the next couple episodes. So on to set design. This is what seems to be shot on real locations. It's actually really cool. There's a desert planet that the first two episodes take place in, and I immediately thought of Tatooine and how it was shot in Death Valley for some of the shots. It looks really great. I don't think the planet they're on is Tatooine, but I'm not entirely sure. It might be something else. Even when you're looking at that, or even when you're on the soundstage, you can tell it just looks awesome because it looks a lot like the original trilogy. The environment looks lived in, and I absolutely love that. Next up, we have costumes. They're pretty amazing. The special effects, for the most part, look pretty great. I'm not sure what the budget is for this. I'm pretty sure it's about $100 million. So for what they're doing, it's pretty impressive. And the Mandalorian even has some beat-up armor like Boba Fett, except for his helmet. His helmet's all super shiny, and there's a part in the first episode where like the face of his bounty reflects off that, and it's really cool to see. Some of the other reviews that I've watched or read over the last couple days and weeks, they said the music is lacking, but I disagree. I think the theme song for The Mandalorian, it's actually really cool, and it fits perfectly for what the show's going for. It feels more like a spaghetti western, and I love that. It's both new and old at the same time. Like, some of the shots in the show reminded me of watching A Fistful of Dollars or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with my grandfather back when I was like 5 or 6 years old. It feels cool, and I was giddy whenever I was watching it, and quite honestly, I've not really felt about Star Wars like that in a very long time, so it was really cool to experience that again. But the show is created by Jon Favreau. It's also executive produced by him, so that's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool guy, if you guys know who he is. He was the director for Iron Man 1 and 2. He's been in a bunch of movies. He's Happy Hogan in the MCU right now. He's a really cool guy. He's really creative, and I'm wanting to see where he goes. There's rumors that he might have a Star Wars trilogy. We'll have to see where that goes. And then we have Dave Filoni. He's also an executive producer, and he directed the first episode of the show. And like I said, if you guys know anything about these two guys, then you know they love Star Wars. Like, Dave Filoni is the protege of George Lucas himself, so you know that the show's in pretty good hands if those two are helming it. And I'm just really excited to see where the show goes because it's a collaborative effort. Unlike The Last Jedi, you have multiple creators being involved in the story process, and I love that. You have up-and-coming creators like Deborah Chow. I'm not really sure much about her. I'll have to do some more research. Rick Famuyiwa, I know I'm saying that wrong. I'm sorry. But he seems pretty cool. Bryce Dallas Howard, and then Taika Waititi, they're also involved. And George Lucas himself even has some creative input, so you know this show's going to be pretty cool. So overall, I would give the first two episodes a 9 out of 10. While I think it's pretty great, the pacing could be a little faster and the episodes a little bit longer. The pacing, I get that. The show's obviously new. They're going to build over it with the seasons they do. But in our day and age, streaming sites, they usually have a episode that's like 45 minutes at least. I think the first 2 episodes clocked in around like 32, 35 minutes. It was really short. Like, whenever I was getting really excited, I'm like, oh boy. And then it kind of dropped off, and I'm like, oh wow, I have to wait till next time. But that just might be them trying to get you to come back. I'm honestly surprised they didn't combine the first 2 episodes together. That's why I'm doing this video together, because it kind of seems like it's one story that kind of got chopped in half to be released on the launch of Disney Plus, which I get, but I'm hoping that problem gets solved. All in all, though, I think this is exactly what Star Wars needs right now. I'm really hoping that Jedi Fallen Order can help as well. I'm not 100% sold on The Rise of Skywalker yet, but I'm going to wait until I see that movie to make my official stance on the sequel trilogy as a whole. Alright, so this is where spoilers start. If you don't want to be spoiled, stop watching now. If you don't care or already watched it, go ahead and stick around for this part. I'm not going to lie, whenever the Mandalorian first popped up, he was like on this icy planet, he was walking, he had like a tracker thing. I'm just like, okay, alright, this is kind of cool. And then whenever he goes into the bar and the guys kind of like say, hey, you owe me a drink, and then he gets past a drink and then he like smashed it over their head. Oh my god, that was awesome. It's just so cool how he kicked ass, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then whenever the blue alien guy, I'm not sure what his species is, but where he's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, here's all my credits. And the Mandalorian's like, no, I'm here for you. And the guy's like, oh my gosh, I can pay you off. And then he says to him, I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold. That was one of the coolest things ever, and it gives his character just so much depth for that one line. It was really cool. So basically he takes him back to his ship. They have to fight off this like weird little, or not little, I should say, it's large ice creature that tries to like eat them. I thought that was interesting to say the least, but then they're able to make it off, obviously. But then like the bounty's like, oh, you know, I gotta do this, this, and this, and the Mandalorian's like, no. He's just silent the entire time, he doesn't say anything. And eventually he has to freeze his bounty in carbonite because he gets a little jumpy. And then he goes to collect. Afterwards, he lands on the planet. He walks into the cantina, but there ain't no catchy music this time. He tries to get paid, and he has to negotiate with Grief Karga about the credits. And they say something along the lines of, you know, the Imperial credits are worthless now. So he has to settle for half, but at least he got paid. And then he wants more, to do more, to try to, like, survive and everything. And he's directed to a mysterious bounty. There's, like, no bounty puck, I think is what they're called. So he goes to this location to find stormtroopers, but they look really dilapidated and everything. They're kind of looking not like they're treated anymore. The one stormtrooper was like really, really skinny, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. It's kind of cool how they have like the Empire basically on the outskirts of the galaxy now, instead of, you know, being the normal, hey, they're always over us type deal thing. And as you can tell from the trailers, like, he gets a little jumpy, and we see the shot where he's like drawing his weapons against the stormtroopers, and they look pretty rough. But the client tells him that they need to capture a 50-year-old subject, and only he can tell him the location. And there's a scientist, his name's Dr. Pershing. He kind of says, you know, hey, I want him alive. The client's like, you can kill him if you want to. He agrees, and he gets paid in Beskar, like a down payment, I guess, which if you've ever read any EU material, you know it's only found on Mandalore. And in the new canon, the Empire just basically straight up steals it from them to make stronger, I guess, armor, I guess. It can stop blaster bolts as well as protect against lightsabers. I think that was in Legends. I'm not sure if that's still true or not. So it's pretty useful in the world of Star Wars, obviously, with, you know, wizards with laser swords running around, as George would say. He then leaves and goes to his clan, if you want to call it that. You see other Mandalorians walking around, and I'm almost certain that I saw Boba Fett's armor, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to have to watch it for like the third time now. But anyway, he goes to a lady who smelts down the Beskar, and then we get some flashbacks to the Mandalorian's childhood. Kind of looks like he was an orphan of some sort. I'm assuming we'll get more info on that in the coming episodes. And she makes him like a pauldron, like a shoulder armor protective thing, which, oh my gosh, there's my timer for my laundry, which I gotta get. And then he looks pretty dope, if you ask me. And then he sets off on the adventure. So he gets to this desert planet, which I think may be Tatooine. And when he disembarks, he's kind of like scoping it out, and he gets attacked by a blurg. So if you guys remember from the Star Wars, that's what the Twi'leks rode in the Liberation of Ryloth. They look pretty cool in live action, and now it makes me think that they're on Ryloth, but maybe they're on some other planet. But the story doesn't really tell you where they're going. The locations don't really matter as much as the story, which I like a lot. So he meets Nick Nolte's Ugnaught character, and he agrees to help him out, saying he'll show him the path. But first he has to conquer riding a blurg, which he fails at a little bit, and it allows us to relate to him as a character. That's pretty cool. So then him and the Ugnaught are able to make their way to the encampment, and he says, hey, you gotta succeed. The settlers and myself, we need peace in this valley. And he says his now memeable line, I have spoken, and that's if you follow any Star Wars meme pages on any social media page, or on Reddit, you'll see that that's kind of all over the place. So then he approaches the compound, the Mandalorian does, and he realizes that an IG droid is already there. He goes down to stop him, and he gets shot. I laughed a little bit there, and then whenever I realized that the droid was being played by Taika Waititi, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's pretty cool. They blast a bunch of the guards, and IG gets hit, and he wants to activate the self-destruct sequence, and he constantly saying, hey, I must initiate self-destruct. It's really funny. It's not like forced humor like in Marvel, and it's pretty enjoyable. They're about to be overrun, and then the Mandalorian's like, hey, I got an idea. He uses his like grappling rope or whatever it is that it's called. I'm not really sure. He grabs it, he launches the dude off of it, he grabs the gun turret, and then like he just mows them all down, and it's pretty cool. So then they have to find up with a way to go inside, and they use the gun turret, and it's kind of like a lightsaber cut, but it was with blasters. It's pretty cool. And then there's like this pod thing that they find. That's the bounty. They open it, and the IG unit says, hey, he was paid to kill it. We don't know what it is yet, because the camera angle is just really cool on it, and you see a blaster bolt, and you think, oh my gosh, IG actually killed it. But nope. I thought it was really cool. The Mandalorian like shot IG, and he, you can see the hole in his head, and then the camera pans down, and boom, it's a baby Yoda. And I lost it at this point. I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. I'm hoping that this is like a large part of the show, like the Mandalorian kind of like transporting this baby Yoda. Maybe he gets a change of heart. Maybe he gives it up for adoption. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a video on that in the future. It shows that he has a little bit of heart, like he plays a little finger game with the baby, and that's the end of the first episode. And then the next episode, it came out a couple days ago. It's simple. He has to get back to the ship, but first they're ambushed by Trandoshan bounty hunters. He gets a little beat up there, but he's able to fight them off pretty easily. And he realizes, hey, like this bounty is going to be tracked, and it's pretty worth it. So others are going to try to intercede on him collecting, and then like they stop for the night. He's trying to repair his armor. He has like a cut on his arm, and like the baby Yoda like gets out of the pod multiple times to try to heal him, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then like he kind of just puts him back in there, closes the pod, and goes back on his thing. So him and baby Yoda, they eventually go back to the ship, and they realize that Jawas are just flat out stripping the ship. And so he pulls out his blaster, and I just thought he was going to like shoot some of them, but no, it is a disintegration rifle. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe they actually did that in Star Wars. And this is where like the baby Yoda meme comes in, whenever they kind of like zoom in on baby Yoda, and they're just like, yes, murder. I don't know why I think that's so funny, but it is. He goes after them. He tries to like crawl up the sand crawler. He almost gets there, but then he fails. He gets shot. He gets shocked, and he kind of like crashes down, and the baby Yoda's like, hey, let me heal you. And again, he's like, no. He like pushes the baby Yoda away. So he goes back to the Ugnaught for help. This is where we have a bunch of like memorable lines. He can't give up his weapons because that's part of the Mandalorian religion, that kind of thing. And you have like, again, the I have spoken one. So he tries to trade with the Jawas, and eventually he agrees to get them an egg, which I don't know the name of the species. I was trying to do some research online, but for some reason I could not find it. So he goes to the cave with baby Yoda, and he fights this horned beast. It's from the trailers. He gets absolutely pummeled. Like, this dude is getting beat up, and he gets dragged through the mud, and like he's making his last stand, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to go out swinging with this. Like, he gets out his knife, and he's about to stab at the last second, and then baby Yoda uses the Force. I'm like, what? I really hope that they don't like start establishing this in Star Wars. Like, you need training to use the Force, but at the same time, it's a baby Yoda, and what we know about Yoda's species, I'm just going to call it that, is that they're really powerful in the Force. So hopefully we get some more explanation on that. And afterwards, basically, he grabs the egg, gets it, goes to the Jawas. They kind of do this like really weird ritual where they just eat the inside. It was really gross. But then he gets his part back. He talks to Nick Nolte's Ugnaught. They repair the ship. They work together. He offers him a job. The Ugnaught says, no, I don't want to be anyone's servant. And the Mandalorian was like, yeah, I get that. And the Ugnaught is kind of looking at him, and it's just like, you better enjoy your reward. And if you could see his face, you would probably see that it was really uneasy with that, because the baby Yoda, it's a child, and that's I'm not sure how his moral compass is yet in the show, but yeah. So hopefully we can see some of that in the next coming episodes. But overall, it was a pretty good. These episodes were pretty good. I'm worried they might be a little short. 2 felt a little bit like filler, but otherwise it was pretty good. I'm excited for what this show might hold. So thanks for checking out this review. I appreciate it. Hopefully I can do some more videos here in the future. Hopefully I can do reviews each week if that's possible. Hopefully they won't be this long, because this one's going pretty long at this point. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Go ahead and like it if you could. I don't want to be that channel. It's like, yo, you should subscribe just cause. No, I want you guys to tell me like if you like the content or not. So I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you later. Thanks.